I found myself scrolling on Instagram recently. I downloaded it to check out some stuff for my business, to look at some competitors like funnels and stuff. And you know when you open the app and you get immediately blasted by the short form scroll. I haven't doom scrolled for about a year, and I thought, let's give this a go. So I pulled up my got this timer here. Right, pulled this timer up, set 5 minutes on it, and I thought I'm going to scroll for 5 minutes to see what the algorithm has for me. What I found was a little bit concerning. See, I've been living under a rock for the last year or two here, last 5 years, building my businesses. And there was an awful lot of stuff about Looksmaxxing, which I've heard about. I've heard whispers in the wind as to this behavior and this weird social trend. And I was scrolling, and whether Instagram's trying to tell me something or not, that's another story. And then this dude came up, this guy, and his nose was all fucked up, and his cheeks, like they were all fucked up, and his hair was in this weird like style. And he and then there was like a video of him like smashing his jaw with a hammer, and then in his description it said, "DM me the word bones for one-on-one coaching." And then I thought, wow, I mean, why not? I'll have a look, right? We're gonna have a look. I thought there's a YouTube video in the works here. So I go on his social profile and I find a school group, and this guy has a Looksmaxxing community centered around like teaching young men how to let's put it delicately here, adjust their skeletal shape to maximize their attractiveness towards women of the other sex, or humans of the other sex. It's weird, all right? And I've noticed this with younger guys. I have a lot of 50,000 young guys trying to get rich in my free school community, Imperium Academy. And a lot of them talk about Looksmaxxing. And then so I go down this little rabbit hole. My 5-minute timer finishes beeping, and I'm like, I stayed on it for a little bit, and I had a look. And I feel a sense of duty and obligation to talk to you about something here, because this is going a little bit too far. Look, there are many ways to gain status in society. There are many ways to compete with men and attract women. Smashing your jaw in and doing exercises every day to maximize your facial attractiveness is not one of them. Let me give you a perspective here. I have an understanding that the reason that most young guys Looksmaxx is so that they can become more attractive to the opposite sex. And the thing is a lot of them, when they watch this video, will scramble. No, it's not that. It's for status, or it's for respect, or it's so that people take me more seriously, because attractive people get more opportunities. Have you seen what the average billionaire looks like? Have you seen what like the average professional athlete looks like? They're normal looking people. Some of them aren't that attractive. This cope and this delusion that there's not really a correlation. If you observe any other facet of achievement, there's not really any causation between attractiveness and success. The only time that occurs is, typically with short-term casual relationships with women. But let me tell you something about this. Look, I'm 27. I've been around the block, okay? I've been in the dating pool. I've got a girlfriend now. I love her a bit. She's amazing. But prior to that wonderful thing happening in my life, I spent basically the best part of 5 to 6 years single, 7 years single in my prime heyday. Getting an attractive woman to like you, or to want to spend time with you, or to date you, or to engage in casual relations is not about your looks. It's not. It's about your confidence, which you could then argue, but my confidence comes from my looks, but we'll talk about that. It's about your humor, it's about your charisma, and it's about your achievements and overall the sense that you carry. The problem is that when you do the whole Looksmaxxing thing, and when you try to make yourself, you try to manipulate your appearance to seem more attractive to the female gaze. I learned that word, they female gaze, apparently that's the thing. What you're doing is you're feeding your insecurities, and you think that by maximizing your looks, you're going to become more confident, but really all you're doing is you're covering up things that make you feel insecure. And what I can tell you is that beautiful women and women of high value in society, whatever that means, they don't care. They don't. Like, yes, being a handsome man might get you more female attention, and it might get you laid here and there. But if you gave let's take a 10 out of 10. Let's take the typical 10 out of 10 woman, your Russian model or whatever framework you want to imagine in your head, and you sit this woman down, and we bring two men into a room with her sat in this seat. And you say to this woman, who would you rather engage with a casual relationship with and also a long-term relationship with? And then you bring in two people. Man A is a normal looking dude. If you want to use the arbitrary out of 10 scale, he's a 6.5. He's not fat, he's not skinny, he's in okay shape, just got a normal face. He's not devilishly handsome or super chiseled, just a normal looking dude. The other guy comes in and he's a Chad. He's got his jaw all lined up. He's got his clothes are perfectly matched. His hair's just been cut. He's dyed his eyebrows. He's got a bit of eyeliner on, like whatever the right. He's objectively more handsome. And then we contextualize this against the fact that the person B, Chad, is making £4,000 or $4,000 a month working in a car salesman role. And, he's working there and that's what he does. And, he relies heavily on his looks and blah, blah, blah. Person B is running a business, making 7 figures a year, and he knows he's the shit, because this is the thing, is like women are attracted to men who are confident, and confidence comes from a unconscious understanding of your position in the social hierarchy. Attractiveness is a proxy. It's not real status. Status is based on competence, and the unconscious female psyche, whatever you want to call it, it recognizes that. You can't bullshit nature. Women by nature are nature. What does nature do? It selects. It selects which organisms or which species are able to reproduce and survive. And nature has a status hierarchy. And the person who sits at the top of the hierarchy, who is selected for to be successful in any realm of endeavor, I nearly said any realm of human endeavor, then little Andrew Tate quote for you, is selected for. So when you've got normal looking dude who's a millionaire, or you've got really handsome guy who's just making 50k a year, and you sit Anastasia, the 10 out of 10 Russian model, down in a chair and say, I want you to pick a long-term partner, she's gonna pick the guy that makes the money. Now, I'm not saying that because Russian models are gold diggers. I could tell you some stories, but I can tell you it's the truth. And I can tell you this from personal experience. I'm a normal looking dude. I go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. I'm not wearing makeup. My facial structure hasn't been altered. Shit, look at my hairline. Look at this fucking thing. I'm going bald as fuck on top here. But somehow I still managed to have a incredibly beautiful girlfriend. And I've never had any issues or problems with my dating in the past. Now, I did, when I was younger, when I was like 18, 19, sort of coming into my 20s, before I started my businesses or before I was successful, it was hell. It was horrible. But the best way to ensure long-term relationship success from a dating standpoint, or from finding and keeping an attractive woman, is to become successful. And so what I see all these guys doing right now is they're compensating, because let me tell you something, it's a damn sight easier to look good than it is to be good. And what I mean by that is be competent, to build a company, to become successful, to become rich. Anyone can just watch a video and bring a hammer to their face or put a bit of makeup on. And the thing is it's like Looksmaxxing is a very, very, very feminine behavior. Like, this is what women have been doing for 4,000 years, since the start of civilization, since the Egyptians started putting like blackberries on their, women would put blackberry juice and stuff and berries, and like they cover themselves in like, mud from the river to make themselves look more tan. Like, this is a female sport. And seeing all these young men engage in something that's incredibly feminine, like, women don't really respect it. Now, here's the thing. Like, If your goal and what you're optimizing for in life is to have as much short-term casual sex as possible and to have as many short-term meaningless relationships as possible, then Looksmaxxing might in some way, shape or form contribute to that. But you and I both know deep down that that's not really what you want. All of that is a proxy for you to avoid your insecurities of committing to one person and engaging and actually developing a real long-term relationship with another human being that you have to struggle through and build through. And so what this Looksmaxxing thing does is it might help you get a couple of girls here and there, but it's a proxy for your confidence. And so what I would suggest that you do, instead of going down this feminine route of maximizing your looks, which is what women do. Women wear makeup, women work, they pay to get their hair done, they get their nails done. You know, trust me, I'm well aware of this. I've got a girlfriend, you know, they buy all these clothes and they spend, you know, for a woman, like a massive portion of her brain is consumed by how she looks. And that's because she understands that men, i.e. the typical kind of, you know, human being that she's trying to attract in terms of gender or sex, men are physical, visual beings, which means that we are attracted to visuals, which is why women spend so much time on their appearance, because in order for them to attract a mate, the more attractive they are, the more likely they are to find a mate. The problem is what men do is they take that opinion and they then project it onto women. And this is where Looksmaxxing goes wrong. And this is why you shouldn't put these Looksmaxxing people on a pedestal. Just because you like looks doesn't mean that women like looks. It's a very different thing. Women value completely different things to men. It will help you if you're attractive, it will help you if you're in good shape, but going to the extreme of wearing makeup and meticulously designing your wardrobe and, you know, adjusting your facial shape and doing exercises to improve your jaw, that's not going to get you any further than actually just making some cold calls or going to the gym. And so what women are attracted to are men that are confident, men that have resources, men that can provide them protection and security, and men that can make them laugh. Like, dude, if you take two guys, one of them's stunningly handsome and the other one's a 6 out of 10, just normal looking dude, but one of them's really funny and more successful, then the woman will go with him 9 times out of 10. Or what will happen is the woman might sleep with the more handsome man, but quickly realize that there's nothing of substance to his character and leave. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't endeavor to improve yourself, and, you know, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, you know, tend to your appearance and, you know, go to the gym and be healthy, because there's a bottom standard here, and I think we can all agree on this. Like, there's a standard of, you know, health. Go to the gym, get in good shape, take care of yourself, don't eat shit food, don't be walking around with like horrible acne all over your face. Like, there's levels to this stuff, right? I'm not saying that someone who's madly overweight or, you know, doesn't take care of themselves is like, hasn't had a haircut for like 6 months. Like, you know, you can keep yourself intact. You don't want to go to either of these extremes. But the feminine ideal, you're basically like, Looksmaxxing is just feminine maxing, man. It is, you know, and, you know, it's all of these Looksmaxxing influencers, all of these dudes that, you know, I have respect for them because they understand their leverage. But I'll tell you right now that, like, when you look at like really, really, really handsome dudes, like on the internet, like, isn't it just a bit weird that you're like following them around like this weird little sheep just because they're handsome or because they have a square jaw? And when you think about the substance of your parasocial digital relationship with this influencer, the only reason that you follow them or that you began following them was because they were attractive and maybe charismatic. Now, I'm not throwing shade on anyone here. Like, these influencers are very clever, they're very intelligent, they're very successful. I got a lot of respect for them. But I just want to invite you to become a little more reflective on who you deify and who you follow and who you respect and what behaviors you want to engage in, because you've got to realize that the people that you follow on, you know, that saying you've probably heard before of like, you become the 5 people you're closest to. That's true physically as well as it is digitally. And what is often the case now in this digital world is a lot of people spend more time with influencers and streamers than they do with their friends and family. And you naturally pick up on their mannerisms, and you pick up on their behaviors, and you pick up on their paradigm. And so I just want to invite you to reflect on who you're following and why you're following them, and specifically what appeals about this Looksmaxxing thing. And when you really get to the bottom of it, it's two things. It's insecurity and it's lust. And let me tell you something right now. Just by making your face look 20% better or more square, that insecurity is not going to go away, and that lust is going to continue to be a problem in your life. Like, this is all a proxy. It's all bullshit. Like, and I know it's hard for you to understand that, because you might be like a 17-year-old kid that has never had a girl in your life, and you've never had any success socially, and you feel like you're ugly. Get in the gym and start making some cold calls. Like, it's really like, it's you don't need to go to these lengths, you know. And I know that not everyone's going to this extreme of like smashing their faces with hammers and stuff, but the problem with social trends, and the problem with cultural trends like this, is they often go left unchecked, and before you know it, you know, they like, look at what happened with the LGBTQ thing. Like, I'm not saying that Looksmaxxing is in any way similar to that, but the problem is that things can go to an extreme before they balance out. And I think with Looksmaxxing, we've got another year or two of this stuff going to an extreme, before we get to a point where it becomes a little irrational. And the opinion that I have right now is it's widely shared amongst most young men. You know, we're going to go to an extreme, it's going to bounce back. If you need help, like if you're broke and you're like, well, yeah, I'd love to get rich and become successful, but I don't know how, click the first link in the description. I'll be candid with you. I've got a course. It's completely free. Okay, let me be very clear there. There's no credit card required or anything. But if you are a young guy and you want some confidence, and you want to gain that confidence from something real, like a digital number in your bank account, as opposed to just, you know, the symmetry of your hunter eyes, click the link in the description. It's a free program. It's 6 weeks long. It took me a year to make. We've got 50,000 other young guys in there right now trying to make it and become successful. Works really well. We just had one guy hit his first $10,000 a month, and he's been in it for like 2 months. So you can check that out if you want. But yeah, I wanted to just talk on this because I don't feel like I've got some heroic responsibility here. But I've got a younger brother. I've got lots of young dudes that look to me for, you know, guidance and stuff. And I think that if I didn't share this opinion, or at least bring some level of rationality to this conversation, I'd be doing an injustice. Have a wonderful day, and check that link out. See you soon.